Welcome to the Vital Journey. My name is Ernie Hubbard, and I'm founder of 7 Circles Wellness. I'm a cell biologist and a biochemist, and for the last 7 years, I have been studying the process of human vitality. The Vital Journey is a 30-day program to help you navigate your own journey toward optimal vitality. In this overview of the Vital Journey, we're going to cover 5 major subjects. First, we're going to ask the important question, what is vitality? How do we define it? Secondly, what are the factors that affect our vitality for better or worse? Third, how do we measure vitality? Then next we're going to look at your 30-day program to help you navigate your way toward optimal vitality, and I'll conclude this presentation with a review of your Vital Journey electronic or e-binder and tell you what's in it and how to best use it. The 7 dimensions of human vitality are easily described in the 7 circles model of human vitality, where you can see, beginning with core energy of the universe, we are able to build vital cells, vital tissues and organs, a flexible, strong, and vital human body, an integrated mind, heart, and body, vital relationships, and optimal vital creativity. So this is the 7 circles model of human vitality, and it represents a very coherent and integrated model of the dimensions of our vitality, and as you'll notice, it's also very hierarchical. So we must begin with making sure that our first, second, and third dimensions of vitality are optimized in order for us to move on to the higher dimensions. Let's look at the process of human development in more detail. At conception, we are one cell, and in the following 16 years, we generate approximately 100 trillion cells in our body. And these are not just new cells that are being created, but these are cells that are being repaired and replaced every 7 to 10 years. The rate at which we are able to do this is approximately 1,000 cells every second of every 24-hour day. So for the first 16 years, biology is busy making sure that we are fully formed, and we enter our reproductive years, generally in the ages of the mid to late teens through the 40s, after which we go through menopause or andropause, and that is the beginning of a period which for many people is a period of declining vitality. So one of the objectives in the Vital Journey is to make sure that as we approach our later years, we are as optimally vital as possible. Well, we've spent a few minutes talking about what vitality is and how it changes through our life, what its various dimensions are. Let's look now at some of the factors that actually affect our vitality. And there are many factors that affect our vitality, probably more than we've even discovered yet. But I'm going to spend some time talking about 7 major factors that affect our vitality. And the first 4 are the electrolytes or trace minerals that exist in the ocean and in native soils, the electronic balance or imbalance of our cells and tissues, our cellular nutrition, and the level of our physical activity, including our exercise, our endurance, and our flexibility. The last 3 factors that I want to discuss affecting our vitality are stress, and especially chronic stress in our lives, the effect of toxins in, on, and around us, and the effects of deleterious electromagnetic frequencies in our lives. In the next few slides, we're going to look at how changes in trace minerals, voltage, nutrition, physical activity, chronic stress, toxins, and deleterious EMFs have affected our vitality. And if we go back to when the very first living cells were alive, probably about 4.5 billion years ago, you'll notice on this slide that I've depicted in green squares those aspects of our environment, our nutrition, our physical activity that were high, and those that were low. And you'll notice that the trace minerals, the voltages, the nutrition, physical activity were generally very high in our ancient ancestors' lives, and chronic stress, toxins, and deleterious electromagnetic frequencies were low. Let's fast forward to today, however, and you'll notice that many of those factors that promoted our vitality are no longer at high levels, and many of the factors that diminish our vitality have increased. So one simple way to look at what our goal is in the vital journey is we are seeking to return those vitality enhancing factors to your life and to decrease those vitality reducing factors. Well, in the next few slides, we're going to talk about what the indicators of vitality are. And ideally, these are measurable indicators so that we can track them and monitor their progress. But here are a few that I've observed over the last 7 years. And one of the very first good indicators of a person's vitality is their body cell mass. And this is a measure of all of the metabolically active cells in the body. And in people who are declining in their vitality, there tends to be a decline in the percentage of their weight on the scale that is actual metabolically active cells. So this is a measure of the cell's ability to repair and regenerate itself. A complementary indicator of vitality, along with body cell mass, is the level of fluids in the cells that are actually present to conduct metabolic activity. And this can be measured, and it's a measure of cellular hydration. We hear a lot about body fat in our culture, and in people who are declining in their vitality, there is oftentimes a shift in the ratio of body fat to body cells. And sometimes it doesn't involve gaining body fat, it involves a loss of body cells. But this is also a measurable element of vitality. We hear a lot about energy and fatigue in our society, and total body energy, total cellular energy is also a very good measure of overall vitality. 5 other measures of vitality are mental clarity, including memory and the ability to focus, the level of chronic stress in someone's life and their ability to manage it, the health of a person's sleep life, not only the duration of sleep, but the cycles of sleep, the ability of the body to heal itself, and the levels of inflammation and autoimmune health that are in the body. So these are some of the key indicators of vitality. And we'll be talking more about this. And in your 30-day Vital Journey program, you will be provided ways to monitor and measure these. The next area in this overview that I want to cover is to discuss with you briefly how we can measure vitality. And I have identified several very reproducible and accurate ways to measure human vitality. And I want to focus on 2 of them today. The first one is called bioimpedance, or bioimpedance analysis. And this deals with an assessment of body composition, fluid hydration, metabolic rate, and membrane health. And the second area is called heart rate variability. And this measures the health of the unconscious nervous system, which controls a vast majority of the neurological activity in our bodies. And so it has to do with the energy signaling of our unconscious nervous system. And there's a wonderful biofeedback system that I will share with you that will help you reduce stress and restore the health of your unconscious nervous system. Bioimpedance analysis was actually discovered and invented during the 1960s, and it's now in use worldwide. It's a very safe, non-invasive way to measure body composition, membrane health, fluid hydration, metabolic rate. It doesn't involve the use of any chemicals or radiation. There's an immediate report, and it's really easy to track trends with this. Let's take a few minutes and just talk about hydration and total body water percentage as an indicator of vitality. If you look at a young, healthy person in their reproductive prime, they're approximately 60% water by weight. And as we age, if we don't take good care of ourselves, the tendency for us to lose body cells, which contain a lot of water, by the way, and the tendency to gain fat, which doesn't contain a lot of water, those tend to reduce our total body water percentage. And it's not uncommon to see unhealthy older people with less than 50% total body water. We talked a little bit about hydration in the previous slide. Now let's look at body composition and how that tends to change over time, especially in people who have declining vitality. The left-hand image shows a typical healthy person in their reproductive prime of their life. And as you can see, their body cell mass, which is comprised of all their metabolically active cells, comprises roughly 35 to 45% of their scale weight. Only about 20% of a young healthy person's weight is comprised of fat, and in very muscular young males that can go down as low as 6 or 7%, and in healthy young women it can go as high as 25%, but the average is about 20. And you'll notice that the extracellular mass, which is comprised of the structural components of the body, including bones and ligaments and tendons, there's also extracellular water there, comprises about 40% of the scale weight. Now, post-menopausal and andropausal individuals who are not in good health will often experience a decline in body cell mass to 30% or less, down from 40 to 45 when they were younger. And this is the decline of that cellular repair and cellular regeneration process that I was talking about previously. So the consequence of this is that our metabolic rates tend to decline because we have fewer metabolically active cells. The cells are generally less healthy unless we take care of ourselves. And the percent of our scale weight, which is represented by fat, tends to increase, and oftentimes will increase above 30%. Understandably, if our metabolic rate is declining and we're not watching our diet, then we can also gain fat, which exacerbates this problem. This graph shows the reduction in body cell mass that occurs in a generally healthy population of women from the age of 15 on the far left to the age of 100 on the far right. And you'll notice most of the young women in this study have body cell percentages in the 35 to 40% range until about the age of 35 or 36, when the average body cell mass percentage starts to decline. And then at 55, when at about the age of menopause, you'll notice that the decrease in body cell mass is actually accelerated to the point that the 100-year-old woman on the far right of this graph is only about 23% body cell mass, compared with 35 to 40 in the younger women. Now, this same phenomenon occurs in men, but it's actually more dramatic in women, but it does occur with men as well. And of course, one of the goals of the Vital Journey program is to help you optimally repair and restore your cells and regenerate your cells through a combination of approaches so that you can have optimal body cell mass percentage. One of the key elements to cellular health and to its ability to repair and regenerate is the cell membrane, which is represented in this slide. In the upper left-hand corner, you see a living cell. This might be a muscle cell, a liver cell, a skin cell, full of fluid. And what I've done is I've magnified and presented diagrammatically just a portion of the cell membrane that separates the inside of the cell from the extracellular fluid. And you'll see that the cell membrane is made up of fatty acids, which are represented by the red and yellow molecules. And these fatty acids, this is why healthy fatty acids in your diet is so important, because the integrity of the cell membrane is very much influenced by the quality of the fatty acids that you have in your diet. The blue shapes in this diagram are proteins. And these are proteins that perform a variety of very important functions within the cell and between cells. Cell recognition receptors, for example, insulin receptors, receptors and sensors that will detect if the cell is under attack, proteins that pump in nutrients and fluids, proteins that exchange electrolytes. There are many different thousands of kinds of proteins on your cell membrane. And of course, you have 100 trillion cells, so you can just imagine how important it is that your proteins be healthy, that your intracellular and extracellular fluids be well nourished, and that your cell membranes be healthy. And we can measure these with bioimpedance analysis. For the last several slides of this overview, we've been talking about the overall health of the body in terms of its hydration, its body composition, how those can change over time if we don't take good care of ourselves. We've talked a little bit about cell membranes and the important role that they play in helping us repair and regenerate cells. which are constantly either dying or being injured and in need of repair and regeneration. We've talked a little bit about the role of diet and the importance of a good diet to support cellular health. We're now going to change gears a little bit and talk about a very important part of the nervous system that is called the autonomic nervous system. And this is the component of our nervous system that is responsible for essential vital functions such as heartbeat, breathing, neurological awareness, our pupil dilation, our salivary glands, our libido. There are a myriad of unconscious functions that are governed by our autonomic nervous system. Probably more than 95% of our neurological activity is unconscious. And I like to tell people if I want to snap my fingers, I can do that consciously. But while I'm doing that, many other functions are being controlled and mediated by my autonomic nervous system. And I'm going to call it the ANS for short. It turns out that there are two sides to the ANS. The sympathetic component of the ANS is where stress resides. And stress occurs in two basic forms. We either experience acute stress, such as when we're under attack, or we experience chronic stress. And our sympathetic nervous system controls the production of adrenaline and cortisol from our adrenal glands. And typically what happens when we are under acute stress is we breathe in, we're surprised, we go, and our heart rate goes up. And then when the stress is abated, we breathe out, and our heart rate goes down. And this slide shows the sinusoidal waveform that occurs in our heart rate variability when we are in a healthy ANS situation between our sympathetic and our parasympathetic, which is the other side of the ANS, which allows us to rest and restore ourselves. And when the parasympathetic is active, that's when cell regeneration and restoration occur. So this slide shows what we call a coherent waveform in heart rate variability, which we can measure. And in the next slide, I'll show you what happens when the sympathetic side of the ANS becomes dominant and we undergo chronic stress. As it turns out, chronic stress is somewhat unique to human beings. Most other mammals and wild animals don't experience chronic stress unless they're being abused. But in nature generally, the major form of stress that wild animals experience is acute stress, and it either leads them to fight or flee. And in humans, over the centuries, we have evolved a culture and a society, and we have demands upon our lives that lead many of us to experience chronic stress and the resultant overproduction of cortisol from our adrenal glands. As you can see, the sinusoidal waveform, which is representative of a healthy relationship between the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, is no longer present. What has taken its place is an elevated heart rate and an erratic heart rate variability. And there are two main reasons for this, chronic stress being a predominant one. But secondarily, as we age, there is a natural tendency for our parasympathetic system to decrease in its function. The good news is that the parasympathetic side of our ANS is, in some respects, it's like a muscle. If you use it, it can improve in function. And one of the areas in which I spend quite a bit of time working with people is in helping them restore the strength of their parasympathetic nervous system, bring their heart rate down, and get the sympathetic and parasympathetic talking again. This brings us to the second way to measure vitality that I want to present to you in the Vital Journey overview, and that's called heart rate variability analysis. This is a system that was developed by a company named HeartMath, located in Boulder Creek, California, down by Santa Cruz. It's very scientifically and evidence-based. It's safe, rapid, non-invasive. It's very reproducible. And in real time, it will measure the health of your autonomic nervous system, followed by biofeedback breathing to reduce stress and to improve the coherence of the entire ANS. This slide shows what a heart math session looks like on a computer screen, and also one of the reports that's generated. When there is chronic stress, there is low coherence, and it's detected by the computer chip on that man's earlobe and transmitted into a computer and analyzed by heart math software. And when there is low coherence, this is when the sympathetic nervous system is dominant and there's a fight-flight response, or there's chronic stress. And of course, these have a myriad of negative effects upon many vital functions, especially when there's chronic stress involved. It can affect digestion, concentration, sleep, weight gain, so many things. Cardiological function can be affected by stress. When someone, through biofeedback breathing, achieves coherence, as is shown on the right side of this slide, you'll see that sinusoidal waveform between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic becomes reestablished. And whereas if you look on the left side of this slide, you'll see that the green bar on the computer screen is only at about 26%. And by the time he was finished with a very brief biofeedback breathing program, he achieved coherence, and the level of his coherence rose to 97%, which you can see in the lower right-hand corner on the right hand of this slide. Achieving coherence is essential to optimal vital functioning of the body, the mind, and the heart. And again, this all goes back to optimal repair and regeneration of our cells and to achieving optimal vitality. So far in this overview, we have discussed what vitality is, and I've reviewed with you the 7 circles model of vitality and the various factors that influence it as we develop. We've discussed some of the factors that affect our vitality, going back all the way to the very first living cell, and looking at a number of different factors that influence either to promote our optimal vitality or to cause our vitality to decline. We've talked about 2 very important ways to measure vitality: bioimpedance analysis and heart rate variability analysis. And we're now going to spend a few minutes looking at the Vital Journey 30-day program toward optimal vitality, after which I will just briefly review your Vital Journey e-binder. The Vital Journey 30-day program towards sustainable vitality was developed after 7 years of research and testing. It employs the 7 circles model of vitality and therefore begins with the very fundamental natural hierarchical needs that our body, mind, and heart have in order to achieve higher levels of vitality. It enables individuals participating in the program to do pre- and post-measurements and to set individualized goals and tracking systems. The Vital Journey is very complementary with ongoing medical programs, fitness programs, weight management programs. The Vital Journey is easy and it's inexpensive. And finally, it involves only natural and safety-tested approaches and products. Well, we've finally come to the last section of this overview, and we're going to spend a few minutes reviewing your e-binder. I think one of the most important things to do is to look at your overview, and your overview is comprised of 2 documents, one of which we've just been through, but the second one is a PDF file that spells out in a little more detail some of the aspects of your Vital Journey program. And so I would encourage each of you to open that PDF up and read it. And you'll find there are lots of interesting links in there, lots of interesting information about overall vitality and how this program unfolds. Beyond the overview, you are provided in your Vital Journey e-binder with a number of electronic folders, and these contain 4 general categories of information. First, there's an e-folder that contains forms that you can use as you're going about your Vital Journey, including logs and surveys, ways that you can evaluate yourself and your health. There's another folder called Tips and Resources, which is really great, and it contains a lot of really useful information that will help you along your journey, including a lot of web links to great websites, great books, great products. For those of you who are interested in weight management, there's a folder that contains both a program that I've developed called the YOLO No program, and also a nice recipe book that contains some great recipes that are all very natural and consistent with good health and vitality. Finally, for those of you who are interested in the science behind all of this, there's a nice folder that contains information regarding the basic research and the clinical evidence-based information concerning bioimpedance analysis and heart rate variability. Obviously, you can contact me if you have any questions about any of this. One of the forms in your e-binder is a 30-day vitality checklist. This will basically give you an opportunity to monitor your progress. Let's say you're going to start taking trace minerals or phytonutrients or natural detoxification. You're going to try and make improvements in your diet. You're going to try and improve your exercise. You're going to monitor your energy, your sleep, your stress, anxiety, track your weight or your body fat. This is just a simple form that allows you to do that. And you'll notice at the bottom of this form are specific instructions about how to take trace minerals, how to take phytonutrients, and other aspects. So you can just print this out, put it on your refrigerator if you want, or just keep it on a computer. But this is an example of one of the kinds of forms that are provided in your form folder. These are some of the products that you will find with hot links to websites in your Vital Journey folder, and they include trace minerals, phytonutrients, chia, sun chlorella, Z natural, which is a natural detoxification compound, and earthing, which is a natural way to reconnect your body to the earth. When you open up the PDF in your e-folder, you will actually be able to click on to the actual websites, and if there are local stores where you can purchase these products, that is also listed in your e-folder. Well, we've come to the end of the overview of the Vital Journey 30-day program for optimal vitality, and I'm going to conclude just by briefly going through the very next steps that you might take if you want to make maximum use and derive maximum value of this program. The very first thing that you can do is review your e-binder and the folders inside, and just take a few minutes and get familiarized with them. Read the PDF overview. It's got a lot of information that complements this PowerPoint presentation, and just open up the other folders and see what's in there and just poke around a little bit. The next step, if you're interested, would either be to contact me if you're local in the San Francisco Bay Area to make an appointment to be tested, or if you're not local to the Bay Area, you're more than welcome to email or phone me, and we'll set up a time when we can talk about your program. I'll help you set your goals, and I'll be basically here to support and coach you through the next 30 days. The third step in optimizing the value from this program is to actually develop and follow a plan over the next 30 days. So this involves identifying and quantifying your goals, whether they have to do with energy or weight or sleep or stress. Could be any of a number of things or a combination of them. But develop and follow a plan, and if you need help and if you need support in that regard, you're welcome to contact me. There are many tips and resources and forms and logs that you can use in your e-binder that will help you do this, but the more quantitative and the more specific you can be, the better. The fourth thing that you can do is to select the tools that you're going to use to monitor your progress. Now, this might be monitoring your weight. It might be using the 30-day tracking log that I mentioned earlier. It might be using someone locally you know and trust who can help you manage stress or other aspects of your life and your vitality. But be very specific about selecting the tools and using those to monitor your progress. A friend of mine once said, if you can measure it, you can manage it. So in wrapping up this overview, here are a couple of things to think about. What are your top goals to enhance your vitality? Are you interested in increasing your energy, reducing your stress, improving your sleep, optimizing your weight? What are your goals? And I would encourage you to not only identify those, but to write them down. And then I would encourage you to ask what changes in those goals would actually be significant. How much of an improvement in your energy would really make a meaningful difference to you? How much of a reduction in stress? How much of an improvement in either the amount or the quality of the sleep that you have? Or how much of an improvement in your weight would be meaningful? And determine whether or not you have subjective measures of those. Objective measures, is it in hours of sleep? Is it in pounds of weight? Is it in percentages? The ability to quantify and determine what significant changes are meaningful will not only help you measure your progress, but it will actually give you an incentive to achieve those goals. Well, I hope by now you feel very confident that you have abundant resources available for you to go on this vital journey. And I've done my best to make them available to you. For the last 7 years, I've been conducting research on human vitality and trying to develop systems that would be useful for people. And I finally pulled it all together in this program. And so what resources are available for you to use? Well, first of all, either with me if you're local in the Bay Area or with others in your region if you're not local, you can test yourself. You can measure your current situation, whether it's weight, sleep, energy, stress. There are ways to measure where you are now. There are ways for you to set your goals, and there are ways for you to measure whether or not you're making progress. So that's a very important resource that you can now take advantage of, whether it's locally here in the Bay Area or elsewhere. Secondly, the e-binder that you have is full of information regarding ways to achieve your goals, resources that you can learn from and benefit from, and products, books, websites that contain extremely useful information that may help you along your vital journey. One final question I would ask you is, what is your plan for the project to achieve your goals? And when you have finished this overview, I'd like you to ask yourself, do I have a plan? And if you don't, then you can develop one. And I am here to help you develop that plan. If you need support, if you need coaching, all you need to do is contact me, and the very next slide will give you my contact information. I'd like to thank you again for taking the time and investing the energy in looking into the vital journey. I would be honored to work with you, and I hope you find the e-binder that I've created of interest and value. If you need to reach me, the best ways to do it are one by telephone, area code 415-331-8293, or by email. And there are 3 zeros in my email address, eh20006@yahoo.com. Thank you again, and best wishes for a great vital journey.